Okay, everybody, I like to keep it to time for everybody that joined and also for um, Bob joining us this afternoon in South Africa. Thank you for joining. This is hopefully a momentous period or time that we can really get the retirement coaching going in South Africa, and I'm sure that Bob Laura will also share some of the research that they have done. And I hope that you will also be willing to participate, because I've had a few discussions with him to see if we can replicate the research in the South African environment as well. That I think will um, help everybody of all of us that's working with retirees to really improve the level of service that we can provide. I've also noted that there's a few people here that have done retirement or transitional, or that's doing transitional coaching, etc. And of course, retirement is one of those big transitions. So welcome everybody. We're looking forward, Bob, to your presentation and sharing some ideas that we have shared on establishing a chapter of the Retirement Coaching Association in South Africa, and the ideas that we have around that.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Just excited to be here. I loved your point about being a momentous, time and situation, because it really is. I've been doing this kind of work for almost 15 years now. And back then people thought I was an alien. It was crazy. It was a bad idea. But here we are today, talking about really a global phenomenon of really just helping people make a better transition. I've said from early on that retirement is one of the most, sought after phases of life, but one of the least understood. And because people they think about it from a dollars and cents perspective, and that's really where the problem is. So I'm going to share my screen so I can show you guys just a few slides here. Just make sure this is going to work here. Everyone can see can you see the slides?
Yes, we do.
Great. So what I want to do is just kind of give you a little bit of an overview of the Retirement Coaches Association, talk a little bit about the training and some of our certifications we developed, some of the challenges that we're seeing, and then we can even talk a little bit about some of the research that we've done to kind of just give you an overview of everything. But basically, we started the RCA in 2017. And it was really because there was no one bringing the group of people together. It was still emerging kind of at that time, the whole idea around it, but no one was bringing people together. And so that's what we decided to do. And it's really about modernizing retirement, because I think today, like, this idea of retirement means like, oh, you're put out to pasture, or you're done, or you're just going to sit in a rocking chair until your number gets called. And that's not retirement at all. And so there's a lot of outdated beliefs and ideas around it. And what's interesting is people are finally more willing to talk about it. It's been my sense that there's a lot of social stigmas attached to retirement, that, it's this great time of life where everything just magically unfolds. And that if you reach a certain age or asset level, or when you can get your pension or government benefits, it's all going to be good. It's not. It's not unless you have a plan, and it's a hard transition. So that was our goal, is to modernize kind of the world of retirement. We have such a diverse group. I will be honest, when I started the RCA and I started the certification, I thought most financial advisors would go through it just because it makes sense for our business. But that's not the case. It's probably only about 10 to 15% financial advisors. A lot of people come to us from HR, from academic backgrounds, in particular from academic backgrounds, because those people tend to be lifelong learners, right? And so now they get to retirement, they're not done learning. And so really a broad group of people who are really starting to attach to the RCA. And in general, I would say our segment is probably mostly 55 plus. But that's also changing as people are really seeing the opportunity. And I'm actually working with a couple financial firms who are hiring what they're calling a chief purpose officer. So someone to come in just to do this type of thing, but under, something similar to retirement coaching. It's just purpose, but it involves the retirement coaching. A couple other just quick things, like we've published 5 best-selling books on Amazon, and that's something that we try to do as a group too, is we all just contribute and write a chapter, which is much easier. And that's been helpful just from a marketing perspective to kind of get the word out about our industry. And then we have an annual conference every year in September. And then we're also, I'll talk about this in a few minutes. We're going to have an event here in April. And it's really just about bringing the biggest and the best. And because we are still a new industry, you typically find a lot more collaboration. Because if you're like a financial advisor, especially here in the States, like there's like a million of us. There's a financial advisor on every corner, and so everyone's really protective. But with our group, because we can cover so much ground and area, everyone's really good about sharing ideas and insights. And just to kind of cap the RCA, kind of the keys for us are membership, retirement research, educating the public, with government relations, then also public relations. So those are kind of the key pieces of the association. The training I developed, really focuses on, a couple major flaws with retirement planning, which is, again, that retirement is a financial event. It's much more than that. And I think the idea today, because of the longevity, people are living longer, we all know that, it's harder to just work for one company for 30 or 40 years than just do nothing for 30 years and draw down your funds. And so there's some flaws in the way people are approaching retirement. People also wrongly assume that they'll gain more than they're going to lose, that yes, they're going to gain time and freedom, but are you losing routine and structure and social connection, physical activity? There's a lot to be lost that people aren't prepared for. I think people also think more time means less stress, but that's really not the case. People think that retirement's going to be so great, and then they get there and they realize, wait a minute, I still have to work. So retirement doesn't eliminate work, it reorients it. And again, this is kind of straightforward stuff that maybe some of you already know, but a lot of people take it for granted and don't know what this transition is going to be like. And again, that's where our opportunity. And again, the assumption is that clients don't like what they do for a living, that work is bad and leisure is good. That's not really the case. There's a lot of benefits to work. It's a matter of balancing it out. And then, of course, the last one, which is kind of funny, couples like and know each other. Here in the States, the rates of gray divorce, those over the age of 50 are I think like 50%. It's a ridiculous number. And so we have to quit, kind of assuming that retirement's going to be this magical place where it all unfolds. It's not. And I think one of the challenges with retirement coaching is because it's portrayed as this magical time, people don't think they need help. Then they get there and they realize they wish they would have had some more insight, ideas, and training. And I think that's kind of another, just a big problem. People aren't being challenged to critically think about retirement. They approach it with vague ideas or assumptions. There are very few role models. The generation ahead of the boomers here in the States, they call them the silent generation. So they didn't talk about their problems. From a global perspective, I've also kind of found that in places like the UK, and I'm not sure about South Africa, but some countries and groups are more tight-lipped. They don't really talk about some of these things. But I think that's changing and emerging as more and more people are realizing there's more to this transition. And so we need more education. We need more role models. And again, I think for retirement coaches, we got to teach our clients to challenge the status quo, to think for themselves, because we're oftentimes following someone else's rules or directions to get to retirement. And that's not really where we want to be. And I think too, like what is the foundation for retirement and a successful transition? One of the questions I like to ask people is, how will you know if you're winning at retirement? Most people can't answer it. I asked a group of people a week ago, how will you know if you're winning at retirement? And they just kind of, they just don't know. And because there's rules and structure for how you win at work or how to win with your family, but no one's really talking about how you win at retirement. And if you think about someone who's a successful retiree, they've done these things. They found a way to replace their work identity, fill their time with meaningful tasks, stay relevant and connected, keep mentally and physically active. express their spiritual beliefs, whatever they may be, and they feel financially secure. So the more of those things you can check off, the better. The problem is with traditional retirement planning, the last one is the one that people primarily focus on. So we need a process to help people do the other stuff. And this is why I think retirement coaching is important, a written process. It's not just keep it up here or think this up. That's actually why most couples struggle in the transition, is because they've got these great ideas up here, but they haven't talked about them or put them on paper. And it's also important to point out retirement coaching is not therapy. We're not fixing couples, or I'm not going to answer the question why you didn't get allowance or something when you were 12 years old. The real reality is it's raising awareness that this is a top 10 stressful life event. There's a lot of change that can happen. And if you're not prepared for it, it's going to, knock you down and not make you feel out of sorts. So that's why with the training we put together, I like practical tools and applications, so here in the States, like Tony Robbins is a big motivational speaker, right? And so people think when they're doing retirement coaching that like you're going to give them some Tony Robbins 30-minute motivational speech and they're going to be fixed afterwards. That's not the case. And so we put together an actual a retirement wellness workbook where there's actual exercises you can take clients through that help them replace their work identity, fill their time, stay relevant and connected. So things they do, not just things they think of. And I think it's important too that, sometimes in the industry, in the financial services industry, there's this hard side versus the soft side, right? And the hard side is the numbers, and the soft side is this touchy-feely stuff. Well, it's not touchy-feely, it's science, right? And so you can apply behavioral economics and how people make decisions to the same stuff, as well as positive psychology, right? Because positive psychology, we all know, really focuses on this concept of PERMA, that if you have these 5 things, you can thrive at any stage in life. Well, it's actually really easy to look at those 5 things while you're working and say, well, gosh, I can get positive emotions here. I have engagement here. I have relationships here, meaning and accomplishments, all while in the workplace. Well, where are you going to get those or replace those in retirement? And again, that's oftentimes the first time people are like, I don't know. Or they're going to realize that golfing or babysitting the grandkids or gardening is not going to be an adequate replacement. There has to be more. And so it's these kind of specific tools. It's using science to really educate people, not some fluffy stuff or a motivational talk. There's real detail here. And I believe going forward in the next 3 to 5 years, every financial services firm will either have to have this kind of training or employ a retirement coach to help people with this. It's really low barrier, easy stuff that can have a big impact. And I'll get the stuff over to Yako so he can share it too. But you can learn more about this. You can go to certifiedretirementcoach.org, and basically the first module is free. And the whole idea is we just want to kind of show you and share with you, what the material looks like. And again, I think there are some limitations with regard to the research and our things that we have, just because it's primarily in the States, but that's also something we hope to change with a chapter or a situation like this. I'm also willing to, because we do want to encourage kind of a global phenomenon, if you will, that we will take $500 off the training, and we'll even give you, once you're done, your first year membership in the RCA as free. You don't have to do any of this. You can still take the module for free, but we wanted to really kind of give you guys an extra bonus or reason for considering it. And I even think we could find a way to, if a group of people decide to opt into it, organize, kind of a monthly or some kind of a meeting where I could be happy to come on to talk about some of the things or do some specialized office hours. Really quick, just because I want to give you a full kind of picture. So moving away from the training, when you look at membership and what we require, this is important because, again, what we want to do is establish some standards. And so we don't want everyone to call themselves a retirement coach. And we don't want everyone to just be like, well, yeah, I read this, 2-second book, or I watched a video for an hour and now I'm a retirement coach. So our hope is to really standardize this, and then really, because I think there's like a life coach and an executive coach. And I'm not downplaying either, but for example, here in the States, an executive coach is kind of treated on a higher level than a life coach. I'm not saying that's right or wrong or good or bad, but we want to make sure the term retirement coach is put on a pedestal and is held up here to a standard, not just something everyone can do. So to be a professional member, we do require 30 hours of completed training, 12 hours of practice coaching, and then 8 hours of continuing ed every 2 years. This is stuff that you will see that mimics our training. Again, only because I've seen other pop-up things come up where people can become a retirement coach in a day, or a few hours, or a simple process. And we're not excluding them because there's an associate membership we're working on. But the professionals that we list and share, we want them to have this, and then commit to ongoing participation, and then have an active online presence. This is important too, because again, we don't want people to come to our site and try to find a coach, and then their website is now down, or they don't at least have a LinkedIn profile or something up there. So kind of just important things. We're working on associate membership where, again, people can become members if they don't meet this criteria, because they see the benefit and opportunity of being in this industry, and we don't want to dissuade people or, again, force everyone to be a coach they may not want to. A couple of quick events coming up. In April, we have what we call a Collaborators and Innovators Symposium. And that, again, it's a day and a half. And I know it'll be a little flip-flop with our timing, but really just an opportunity to hear from some people about things going on in the industry. We're going to review some of our new research and also just network. And I think what I appreciate about what Jaco and what you guys are doing too is it is about collaborating on this stuff. It's a lot easier to do a research project or a book or a course on this stuff as a group than as an individual. And that's really what we want to kind of push. And then every year in September, we have a conference. It usually spans 3 days. And again, the idea is connecting people, bringing in industry leaders, talking about sales and marketing, as well as practical kind of applications. That was my slides. I just wanted to kind of run through those real quick, but I can stop those and take questions or anything that you want to talk about.
Can I perhaps just quickly interrupt you about the conference?
Sure.
Will that again this year be virtual as well?
Yes.
Because I think I can really tell you that the speakers are excellent. I've every year learned something that I can apply, and it's a big opportunity for us from South Africa. You don't need to take on the cost to travel to the United States to attend the conference. There's breakaway rooms where you can meet people from all over the United States, Canada, the UK. So for me, that's really excellent. But sorry, you can tell us a bit more about.
Yeah, it's always virtual. We always record it. You get the recordings for 6 months. And what we try to do is keep our sessions like 30 minutes long. Then we go to Q&A, and then we always have breakout rooms, because we want you to not only hear the information, but then process it. And it's easier to do with a group. So oftentimes after we're done with a session, we go right to a breakout with some curated questions to kind of talk about or bring that stuff out. So it really is a ton of fun. We have great people. And again, we've got people who've been doing this for as long as I have, 10 or 15 years, and a lot of people who are brand new. And so it's a nice mix. It's really high energy, and it's good fun.
And as a bonus, it counts towards your CPD that you need to do.
Yeah. So and I think what we try to do, because I've got a bunch of other credentials, and I feel like I always have to pay a bunch of money to keep my credentials up, and they want me to do this or that. We count the marketing classes, the sales classes. Some programs don't, but we count everything for you. And then I try to do, probably on a quarterly basis, just some kind of a seminar or a workshop, whether it's, marketing for coaches or recent trends. And so we're always trying to do a little bit something extra to kind of keep everyone engaged. We also do a bi-monthly meet and greet. And again, that's just a chance for coaches to come together and tell us what's going on. And I find it very inspiring, because you'll hear about different people. They're working on a book or a new course, or they got quoted in the media. And so fun stuff to hear about, because when you're working in a business like this, you can be a silo in a different place. You can feel like you're all alone because of your physical or geographical location. But when we come online as a group to talk about it, it kind of revs you back up and amps you up and kind of brings you together. So all good stuff. What questions do we have on? I know I kind of ran through that fast and a lot. Johan, go ahead.
Bob, I've got one question. Being in the coaching industry for many years, and you're aware of this, are you planning to get your ICF certification for the course? Is that something for the future?
Our course works for ICF CE credits. And
okay,
so
cool.
if you take our course, I think you get 30 core and 12 resource or something like that. So it doesn't.
You've answered my question. You've answered my question.
And I want to make sure I point out, it doesn't count towards getting your ICF designation, but once you're a coach, it counts for continuing education. And for financial advisors, for the CFP, we are 28 CE credits for that as well. And then I think we're 20 credits for human resources. So yes, good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jaco, you want me to share a little bit of the research or anything else, or?
I think, yeah, maybe as a next thought, if you can share some of the research that you have done, and maybe there come some questions from that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to well, I sent this to you, but I'm happy to have you share this with the group as well. But you know, we did some research early last year, and we're calling it kind of the Great Disconnect, because the biggest difference was what pre-retirees thought and what actual retirees found. And there's a big discrepancy there. And I think what's really important about our industry, this emerging industry, is we do need more research. We need the academics to really catch on to this, to help us kind of pinpoint some of these issues and challenges. But I thought, a couple interesting things. 76% of the people that we polled, of these retirees, have seen someone struggle with the transition. So it's not an easy thing. It's not just a shoe-win magically happens. And I think these are really important. The couple big things here: the loss of identity, the loss of daily routine, have few friends, but that loss of identity keeps showing up everywhere. That's really what people struggle with. But again, a lot of the research that you've seen before, you can't fix it. And that's why I think the things we do with retirement coaching are solution-based, so that we can work on these things or kind of help them see different. And so we also asked, what are their biggest financial fears? And again, you're seeing from both pre-retirees and existing retirees, is that loss of purpose and direction. And that is a huge thing. I've done some work for the Modern Elder Academy, and they've got a big course on, midlife transitions, but most of their courses are on purpose. And people just really, it's interesting on two fronts. They struggle with finding purpose, but then they also, struggle with purpose pressure, that they need to find it. And so it's kind of a weird challenge, but a lot of people just want to talk through these things. They don't know who to, and oftentimes they aren't sure what type of coach can do that. Their financial advisor can't do it. So again, I think we're very well positioned to help in this area. Couple other things. This is a really big deal that I think it's almost 80-something% of people saw a decline in their social life in retirement, right? And so that's a big deal, because you see over here that there's people, pre-retirees, who think that their social interactions actually going to increase. And this is the kind of stuff that kind of smacks people up the head, because they're like, well, it's going to be great. I'm going to have more friends. I'm going to be more active. And like, when you're not, then what do you do? And this is what I find interesting, is that people often think they're going to be someone different in retirement, but they're not. We know this from behavioral economics. You default to what you know. You're not someone new or different. You're you times two. And so it magnifies who you already are. And so if we look at your life pre-retirement, it's not going to change post-retirement unless you do some things. But again, I think a lot of people also think that retirement's a feeling, that when they get there, they're going to feel happy. But feelings are kind of the tail of the dog, right? So what are you doing to foster those feelings? If you're just sitting around doing nothing, hoping things come together, it's not going to work. This slide, I just got to slide this over. Really talk about the challenges with adjusting to life and retirement. I like this statistic. 91% of people, retirees, said that they wish they had, regular goals for when they made this transition. And oftentimes people don't, but that's a really easy thing for coaches to do, is to say, what would you like to accomplish in your first 30, 60, or 90 days? Most people just go into it like it's a giant long vacation. And that's even more problematic for people who are, let's say, a type A personality, or a planner, or a driver that really wants to get things done. They're not going to be super relaxed and doing nothing all day. Having those goals is important. This is also a really important point too. This is what's going to continue to change the industry. 90% of retirees said that they wish their financial advisor had talked to them about retirement coaching, and 86% of retirees felt that their HR should have. And then you can see, but only 54% and 61% of pre-retirees felt that way. You don't know what you don't know. And that's what happens to a lot of people, is they assume retirement's going to be a certain way, it's going to unfold a certain way, and then when it doesn't, they don't know what to do about it. And I think here's the interesting thing. Can you really say retirement's not going well? I don't think you can. People will think you're crazy, because you've gotten to a point where you don't have to work anymore and you have all the money in the world to do what you want. So how can retirement be bad? Well, it can, because if you don't have routine, structure, purpose, identity, social connection, like those are major losses. And again, this is what people need to know, is that going into it, even if you don't think you need it, it's going to really benefit you by going through it. And then I thought this was interesting too, just especially for retirees, that almost 50% thought that the honeymoon phase was a year or longer. And this was a surprise to me, because on paper I would have said it was probably 6 months, but it really, the more I've kind of looked at this research and talked to people, it can take a solid year or two to adapt. And that's, again, something good for people to know as they're making this transition, and not assume it's going to be great in the first 3 months. I could go on, with a lot of stuff. I want to be conscious of your timing, but, again, what are the services that people want? Again, it really focuses on improving their purpose, their social network, the right opportunity, options for a phased retirement. There is so much potential here to really have an impact on not only people, but I believe organizations. That as organizations understand these needs, and if they want to help people make better transitions, the stuff is here. They just need trained professionals that have proven tools and techniques that are scalable to really distribute them. So that's some of our research. So I don't know if there's any other questions on that, or any feedback, or Jaco, if you want to share anything.
Bob, thank you. No, I think that just highlights for me the need for this. And I mean, that was one of our discussion points, that we just realized that there is such a big need. And that's why we want to take it also to South Africa. That's why I really hope that a few of the people that's attending will earnestly consider doing the training, becoming certified professional retirement coaches, and so that we can get it going. And as you've said, I think for me, the process forward is we have had a few people now joining on the Zoom. So I've already shared the research. You have the link to the Retirement Coaches Association, and I would really recommend that go and have a look, do that first module, see what it's all about. And then maybe we can have in a month's time or so, I've set up a little WhatsApp group and I'll just get everybody together and see who would like to continue, and then we can start a small little group from there. And I'm sure that as it gets more recognition, more and more people will start to join. But yeah, I think that the people that are here, you have the opportunity to be pioneers in South Africa on this.
Yeah, and I will say that's what I think is awesome. You know, it's like pioneering isn't always easy or fun, but I mean, how many times can you say you've got a shot to put a stamp on an industry? And again, like even if you look at the global industry, it's not that big, you know, and so you can have a significant impact. And whether it's in research, writing a book, developing a course, I mean, there's so many ways. Like it's just uncharted territory, and that's kind of the fun stuff that, you know, I think that even from a personal perspective really creates a long-term legacy. So I just get excited about it. I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate you guys coming on and taking the time. And if by any chance you need anything from me or have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to discuss it with you.
Thank you so much, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Any last comment or questions before we greet each other? Johan, you're on mute.
Bob, can we have a list of those 5 books that you've written?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Bob, especially for you taking the time to join us. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for the groundbreaking work that you're doing to make it easier for us to follow your footsteps.
Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing what you guys do.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
have a good day further, everyone.